Sit down and stop what you're doing, because the situation's brewing that's hewing so close to ruin that I'm spewing true facts about your actions or lack thereof while you're cooing over instas of Twista's new bling instead of burning for learning and returning for discerning reports of how your world is turning. This is The Loop. By now, I'm sure that many of you have seen footage of the massive explosion in Tianjin, China that occurred early on Wednesday. The explosion was so large that it briefly could be seen from space, and official reports claim that it took the lives of 56 people and injured 721 others. So what happened? How could such a massive blast occur? The Chinese government refuses to tell. What we do know is that just after midnight local time, a shipment of, quote, dangerous goods went up in flames in a chemical storage warehouse, igniting the remaining chemicals, which included sodium cyanide, a compound highly toxic to humans that can rapidly kill any people exposed to it. Environmental watchdogs Greenpeace also said that they believe that other chemicals at the site included toluene diisocyanate and calcium carbide. These chemicals are now in the air around Tianjin. It's difficult to determine the full environmental impact of this explosion, but physicists at the University of California, Berkeley recently calculated that about 4,000 people a day are killed in China by conditions stemming from air pollution. That's 1.6 million people a year. One can only hope that this awful disaster will lead to stricter regulations on chemical compounds in China. In Havana, Cuba, yesterday, the American flag was raised for the first time in 54 years outside of the recently reopened American embassy, signaling once and for all the newly strengthened diplomatic ties between the US and Cuba. Secretary of State John Kerry has been working towards this goal with President Barack Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro since they lifted the diplomatic freeze between the two nations back in December of 2014. To help drive home the magnitude of this moment, the US government brought 3 of the Marines who lowered the flag in 1961, when diplomatic ties were cut off, to Cuba to help raise the flag once more. In an age of ever-shifting political alliances and terrorist organizations without a clear face, it's a pleasure to see two nations put aside their differences for the common goal of peace. New Yorker Alfonso Cutaya is suing news organizations CNN and Canadian broadcaster CBC for using his 31-second YouTube video without consent or compensation. The video, titled Buffalo Lake Effect, has been viewed 3.7 million times on YouTube since Cutaya posted it in November of 2014. The clip has become a source of income for Cutaya, who has earned a portion of the advertising revenue from his video and was also approached by news outlets across the US to use the clip. However, he never licensed the clip to CBC, who posted his clip online with their logo on, effectively stealing his property and passing it off as their own. After months of petitioning CBC to pull down the footage, CBC finally told Cutaya that they had purchased the clip from CNN. This was a huge shock to Cutaya, as he had never licensed the clip to CNN either. He's currently seeking injunctions against both CNN and CBC to make sure that they can no longer illegally use his video, and also accuses them of intentional and willful infringement of his copyright. He also claims that both organizations violated the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, the law that prevents internet piracy of copyrighted material. We wish him luck in his fight for justice. In Greenville, South Carolina, parents Pam and Mark Crawford are suing a team of doctors in a first-of-its-kind lawsuit. Their claim is that the doctors gave their adopted son sex assignment surgery that incorrectly made him a woman. Their son, who was born intersex with both male and female genitalia, was determined to be a girl by the doctors, who removed his male genitalia when he was only 16 months old. The child, now 10 years old, experiences daily confusion and depression as he struggles with his assigned identity. The Crawfords are furious that the doctors made this decision for their son long before he would have been able to decide it for himself, and consider the removal of their son's penis as a form of genital mutilation. 1 in 2,000 babies is born intersex, and as the transgender community becomes more prominent, the medical community must re-examine how, why, and when they approach sex assignment surgery, and what can be done for those negatively affected by decisions made long before they could decide who they really were. A potential cure for blindness has taken a bold first step in a recent animal trial where blind mice were able to detect the shadow of an approaching predator and run for cover. The study, in which scientists inject the gene for a light-detecting pigment into the eyes of blind mice, shows that beyond sensing light, the blind mice may have a shot at seeing fully once again. The treatment enables ganglion and bipolar cells in the eye to produce their own light-detecting pigment, helping them compensate for the lost sight receptors. As of right now, the treated mice are able to detect varying size of objects in ways that blind mice cannot, and they can even tell the difference between black and white bars. But the bars had to be 10 times wider than those used for testing sighted mice. The researchers hope for a human trial within the next 5 years. And finally, what did people love in media this week? In music, the soundtrack for the Disney Channel movie Descendants debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. In TV, Descendants also dominated the season charts, while Suits was once again this week's most downloaded episode. And at the box office, Fantastic Four debuted at #2 to a paltry $25 million behind Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which grossed $28 million at #1. And hey, if you love this show and you want to see more of me, you can go check out my personal channel where I give advice 4 days a week on a wide variety of topics. And that's everything that you need to know about your world this week. Well, Actually, that's not true. There's one more thing that you need to know, and that is that this is the final episode of The Loop. Over the past almost 6 months, your support has been incredible as we strove to bring you news from around the world. News that our producer, Darren Girdner, our editor, Luke Braun, and I felt that you deserved to hear on a weekly basis. I'm really proud of this show, and from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for tuning in every week. So, why is the show going away? 2 reasons. First, I'm working on a new project for SourceFed with Brie Essrig, one that I'm incredibly excited about and proud of, and cannot wait to share with you in the coming months. Unfortunately, however, it requires all of my concentration to get it right, and that means less time in front of the camera on this channel. The other reason is that starting Monday, SourceFed's format is changing. We will release 1 video a day covering a wide range of stories, from pop culture to web culture to current events and global news. I've been deeply involved in the decision to switch formats, and I would not let this show end if I wasn't sure that you'd be able to get informed on SourceFed without it. I hope that you respect and support this change, and I can't wait to share my new project with you. Thank you all for watching this show. I'm Matt Lieberman, and until next time, you're in the loop.
No, it's figurative.
Yeah, also when it's so delicate that even when you mention it, it breaks.
I don't really have a high standard for things. I mean movies, which maybe I should. I don't.
Everybody's different.
I don't have a high standard
For things.
I love it.